Hey everybody, Lauren Ohayon here from restoreyourcore and laurenohayon.com. Today's exercise workout is all about tight hips. So we're going to address what a really a really short sequence that I like to give people. Short, easy, simple for their tight hips. Not a lot of exercises, but really effective. Here we go. The first exercise, number one, is I just tell people always before doing this, it's just to roll it out. So this is 2 balls in a sock tied at the end, 2 small kind of pinky balls. You can buy them at the at a toy store for like $1 or $2. Sit on your booty, roll out your booty. I can show you how. Sitting on your booty, you roll out one side. I like to do circles. Okay, for this I actually sometimes do it with just 1 ball, but 2 balls is fine. Do the other side. And then I like to come down and lie down on my stomach and do the front of my thighs. So you're gonna roll out like your front pocket with the ball, okay? So you don't have to go all the way up and down your thighs, although you can. One thing I wanna say about tight hips is that when people complain about tight hips, what they often do to relieve their tight hip sensation is a lot of hip stretching, but they don't do a lot of hip loading. This sequence that I've built combines a lot of hip loading with eccentric, so with stretching but eccentrically, so you're still loading, so it's not a lot of passive stretching. Okay, so you've rolled it out. The next thing you're going to do to begin with is you're going to come down into a low lunge. Obviously you'll do both sides, I'll just show you one. In the low lunge, a few things to remember. You don't want your pelvis to do this. For the majority of people, they'll come into a low lunge and immediately their pelvis will tip forward like this. You want to keep your head stacked over your ribs, stacked over your pelvis, over your knee, so that line. And then you want to keep a neutral pelvis, which will actually mean you should tuck under just a little bit. From here, you're going to walk this foot forward, and you're going to come in and out of this very kind of known hip flexor stretch. So you're going to come forward and back. You never let yourself go too far forward, and you never let yourself collapse into it. This is no longer just a hip flexor stretch at all. So you're loading up into the hip flexors and you're gonna add a little bit of a side bend. Now some people do a side bend with open and some people do a side bend closing it. It'll get to somewhat different fibers of the hip flexors. See what works for you. Back toes can be under or not. They will also get to different fibers of your hip flexors, so try both. Okay, once you've done a few of those on both sides, I would say, let's say about 8 or 9 on each side, you're going to switch sides. After you've switched sides, you're going to come up to get a little bit more loading in the legs standing. None of this is passive, meaning you're not just dropping into any of these positions. For the next one leg forward, 1 leg back like a lunge. For a lot of people with very tight hips, you're going to want to keep your legs together. So I'm going to encourage you to find a comfortable, safe place with a little bit more distance between your legs. Once again, neutral pelvis. The tendency will be to want to be here. I'd like you to tuck under and have a straight line. You're going to take this back knee and you're going to slowly lower it toward the floor. It doesn't need to touch the floor, and in fact, it shouldn't do this. Right? It shouldn't just plop down. So you're going to start to lower down slowly. You might only get to here, that's fine. And you're going to press through your feet like you want to straighten, but don't. Hold that, and then finally come all the way up. And you're going to do that about 5 times, and then you're going to add a rotation. So you're going to start to lower down. Hands are going to come together in front. You're going to turn your ribs this way, reach with your arms. Be sure that this rotation is not your hips twisting, and it's not your shoulders. Take your nipples along for the ride, okay? And you're going to do that about 5 or 6 times. So the low lunge about 5 or 6 times, maybe 8, and then the low lunge adding a rotation at the end. Okay, our third exercise. For this third exercise, you need a yoga block. You can use a pillow, a stack of blankets, or a bolster. And come to lie on your back. Place it under your sacrum. Bring your knee into your chest. As you hug your knee in, be sure that your pelvis rolls in as well. So your pelvis is going to tuck under as well. Your knee is going to come tight to your chest. Your other leg is going to come straight up to the sky. From here, you're gonna start to lower this leg down, but what you don't wanna do is arch your back like this. So you're gonna keep your pelvis tucked under you as you start to let your leg drop. Now, most of you won't feel it here because your leg didn't drop. So you're gonna try to drop that leg out of the hip socket and then boom, you get the stretch. But don't let your back arch like this or your pelvis tilt. I would say hold there for a good 15 seconds. And then you're gonna lift and lower the leg about 5 times slowly. Don't Jane Fonda your leg, no hard leg, right? It's not jazzercise. Really heavy leg as you lift and lower. Those are very difficult. If those are too difficult, you feel your core, you feel heaviness, you feel pressure down there, put your other leg on the floor to do those. Okay, so you can do it like this also. Okay, after you do those 2 coupled exercises, you're gonna come back up to stand. Stand at wherever you want. I'm gonna face both directions so you can see. I'm gonna do each leg one at a time. You're going to start to lift your straight leg straight up. You're going to stop when you feel the need to do this, right? To get your leg up, so, or to go there, right? So nothing in your pelvis changes as you lift your leg up. You might only get to here, right? A lot of people have a very difficult time getting very high up. If I use my hand and I straighten my leg and I hold it here, I can hold it there, but that's not what I want you to do because that's not you loading up your muscles to get you there. Okay, so you're gonna slowly lift up. You're gonna see where's that point where you stop. Hold there. Slowly lower it down. Do the same leg about 5 times. You will be surprised. Week 1, you might, like day 1, you may not get further than this before it gets hard, right? And you're slowly lifting it. The majority of us struggle to even hold our legs straight out here for longer than a second. Then you're gonna do it with a bent knee. Same thing. I'll face this way just so you can see. I'm gonna start lifting my leg up. Hold, lift it, hold. Keep going. You just keep going when you find, so you don't do it all at once. You find your end range motion. It'll be easier with your knee bent. So you put a lot of these muscles on a slack, so it's easier. When you get to your end range, where your pelvis has not changed, you pause. 8 seconds, you release. Take a few seconds, to relax it, and then do it again. And then that one you do after you've done the straight leg once. So you've done the straight leg here, you've done the straight leg here, now you're doing the bent knee. And then what I want you to do is basically do it on different angles. Open your leg to here and try it. Both legs, okay? It's gonna be harder with a straight leg, but you should try it, right? So loading up these muscles in a variety of places, seeing where you get to. Okay, last 2 exercises. Hands and knees. This is a really amazing one, especially for tight hips. It's a wonder what it can do for your tight hips. Come onto your hands and knees. Don't let your body shift side to side. Keep your body in the center, neutral in your spine, so none of this and none of this. So tailbone, the pelvis slightly untucked, ribs moving away from the floor slightly, and then you're gonna lift one knee off the floor, pull it toward your chest. Don't use your hands. Don't tuck your pelvis. See how far you get and hold it there. Hold it here for a few breaths. What you will feel is these muscles really working hard. That's because for most of us, these muscles are adaptively short. We sit all day long. These muscles get very short, very tight. And then we think they're tight and we go and we just stretch, but we never strengthen them. We never do the work to follow up. So the work to follow up here is you've got to then strengthen those muscles. You can't just leave them stretched out and then go back to sitting all day long. And then again, it's just the same pattern again and again, and they never get anything but feel tight. So you just pull the knee in. Don't let your back do this. You may not get very far. It's not you're not in competition with yourself. How close to my chest can I get? The side that's tighter will probably feel more challenging. For me, it's my right side, so I'm always like, I can do my left side. Last exercise is a glute bridge. You all know glute bridging. You come to lie down on your back. See that your ribs are on the floor. If your ribs are arched off the floor, it's a sign that you need to bolster up under your head. You need to place some pillows and a blanket under your head. And then start with your feet pointing straight ahead. Press your feet straight down into the floor. Buttocks should respond. Lift your hips up. Don't arch your back like this. Keep your ribs heavy. They won't be on the floor, but you're not excessively arching in your thoracic spine. You can do some pulses here. You're never pushing your feet forward. That's gonna get your quads to do the work. You're never pulling your feet in. That's gonna get your hamstrings. We're targeting glutes. Push your feet straight down. You can then do it with one foot at a time, turned out, right? So you push up. There's more weight on the foot that's turned out. It's a lot harder. And do some glute pulsing there, or you can just lift up and down. And then you switch legs and you're pushing straight down, and the leg that's turned out will have more weight on it. So those are my seven or eight, depending on how you look at it, or 9 if you add the roll into it, but 7, 8, or 9 exercises for a tight hips, that sensation of feeling tight in here all the time and wanting to stretch it out all the time. Why don't you load them up instead? Enjoy.